and went to a musical. And in the musical I saw, when I met him, he told me he was in that musical, and I remember him. I mean, like way back, years later. And he was a dancer. And then he got a hip injury, and I think it was from a horse. And he injured his hip, couldn't dance anymore, and gradually the hip deteriorated. So, can you imagine? He caught the muckle on this athletic dancer, who's this great-looking guy, a Spanish lover on all those movies. A deteriorating hip, and he can't move, and he's in a wheelchair in his last years. What it must have been like. He was a gentleman to the end, and there's another hero. You in the green.
Yes, thank you. Will T.J. Hooker ever make a comeback?
Will T.J. Hooker ever make a comeback?
Right after Barbary Coast.
Right after Barbary Coast. You mock me, sir. Probably not. There was a little bit of Hollywood here. A couple of people came into my office 3, 4, 5 years ago and said, we'd like to do a movie of T.J. Hooker, and you would play the Hooker's father, and you'd teach him all the stuff. Well, hey, you know. We're talking about aging. I mean, the things about T.J. Hooker, James Darren. I mean, when they said T.J. Hooker, my mind flashed to James Darren and his psychosis about birds. So we'd be running from one rooftop to another, jumping, you know, policemen running after the bad guy. Sometimes it was stunt guys, but a lot of the times it was us running and jumping. And James Darren had a psychotic fear of birds. And we're on the rooftops of Los Angeles. So there were birds on the rooftops. And he'd be in his cop uniform. I'm gonna keep, oh my God, there's a bird! So they said, we want to make a movie and we'll float it. We'll float the idea in one of the industry magazines, The Reporter or Variety or something. So there was an item a few years ago about making, they did this is a Hollywood ploy to see if there's any interest. It's like throwing out a line, see if anybody bites. Well, nobody bit on the idea of making a movie about T.J. Hooker, so that was the last of the T.J. Hooker comebacks.
Out of curiosity.
Out of curiosity.
All the crew of the original Star Trek Enterprise.
All the crew of the original Star Trek Enterprise.
Who made the best food and who made the best drinks?
Who made the best food?
And the best drinks.
Who made the best food and best drinks?
Yes.
Yes.
Who made the best food and drinks? That is the dumbest question. Jesus.
Get alive!
I'm sure that stuff was going on behind the scenes that I was totally unaware of. So there was eating and drinking going on that I wasn't a part of. You've all heard the gossip, but so I don't know. All I know is that there was one scene. Who wrote most of the good movies? No, not Roddenberry. Never wrote.
Mark Bennett.
Myers. Nick Myers. I like you. Nick Myers wrote an eating scene, and so we all sat around the table while this, whatever it was they had, was laid out. It was green and brown. And,
Yummy.
and the Klingons. That was the eating scene. Yeah. What was it called?
It was Star Trek 6.
Star Trek 6. The Klingons. I didn't know that. So, it's in my book. Yeah, but I've forgotten. It's been so long. Hey, give me a break. I got to be up here and appear like I know what I'm talking about. So there was this eating scene. And Myers wanted us to eat. Now, think about this. You could do a scene all day long. A love scene. Darling, I love you. You do? You love me? Yes, I do. Here, have a piece of my steak. Oh, your steak is good. Here, have a piece of my fish. Oh, your fish is good. I love you. Okay? So now you're going to shoot it from every angle. So you start off in the morning, you're hungry. Hey, sweetheart, have a piece of my steak. Oh, that's good steak. By noon, you don't want to eat the steak. But you're shooting the scene and you have to match it, so you got to eat. You will eat the steak. I'm sick. People have gone out and whoopsed. They go out behind the scene to go vomit to get rid of the food so they can eat some more food in the scene. The last thing any experienced actor knows is you don't eat in a scene because you have to eat all day long. And what most people do is they get like a slice of apple. And you eat like, oh, wow, this steak is good. And put it in your mouth quick before the camera can see, because it's a piece of apple, because that slides down easily. There was this long green thing that had brown flecks.
Oh, God.
And there was like 20 people. And Nick Myers says, $20 a take to anybody who eats. Every time we do a take, I'll give whoever eats $20. Because he knew that actors would go, oh, and another thing, and just put the fork down for a moment. Oh, and I wanted to tell you, and never eat. Watch those in the eating scenes, by the way. So, see, my father came over on the boat from somewhere. And had to bring his whole family over from Europe. He was 14, and he sold papers and shined shoes. So when I was born, he taught me the value of $1, especially $20. And besides which, there was a sense of competition between Nick Meyer and myself. Anyway, because he's small. He's the little guy. I'll get you no matter how short I am. So I began to eat the brown thing with the green. Every take. He ended up handing me well over $100. And I used 50 of it to buy medicine to quiet myself. And what was the question? I've answered something or other. Oh, eat and drink.
Yeah.
So it was a non-answer. Yeah.
Speaking of spoken word shows.
Spoken word shows.
One of my personal heroes, I believe, is a friend of yours.
One of your personal heroes is a friend of mine.
Henry Rollins.
Henry Rollins. Love Henry Rollins.
And I find that it's kind of incongruous.
And you find that incongruous.
And
Well, so does Congress. Find it incongruous. To be a member of Congress is incongruous. But something there is not good. Okay. Hey, you can't win all the time, right? I mean, some are good, some are bad. I'm ad-libbing up here. I don't have an editing possibility here. Tomorrow I'll say I shouldn't have said incongruous. Go ahead.
I thought you might expect, I know, he talks about you.
Henry Rollins and I are incongruous.
He talks about you.
What? Spoken word,
He
yes.
talks about you in his spoken word.
He talks about me in his book?
In his spoken word.
In his spoken word. He talks about me? Is he kind? I'll kill him if he's not kind.
He says you make very good turkey.
I make very good turkey.
So anyway, I was hoping you might speak.
Expound on the incongruity of Henry Rollins and myself.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you about Henry Rollins. I'm doing an interview show. Raw Nerve, it's called.
Yeah, we like that.
Thank you. Since there were 3 of you who cheered, and there were 3 of you who were watching it, so that's why it's not on the air anymore.
We loved it.
I loved it. I loved doing that show.
It was great.
So I got all kinds of people. I did 39 of them all together. And I did Rush Limbaugh. And I got talking with Rush Limbaugh and found out all kinds of wonderful things about Rush Limbaugh. And in fact, brought tears to his eyes as he remembered some things in his past. Well, I thought, what a, he's a neat guy. He revealed himself emotionally. It was great. And I invited him to my house for Monday Night Football, which when I'm available, I invite a lot of friends, and maybe 20 guys show up, and you know, sometimes special guests. Rush Limbaugh was a special guy, so he came up to Monday Night Football, and Henry Rollins comes up to Monday Night Football. You got it. So Rush comes a little late, and I'm introducing Rush to the people, and then there's Henry. Now there's a counter here, and behind sort of the end of the counter is a refrigerator where people can just go and get drinks. So Henry is there, and I move over with Rush Limbaugh, and I say, Rush, Henry Rollins, Rush Limbaugh. Henry takes one look at what he thinks is the devil, turns around, goes into the refrigerator, and puts his head in the refrigerator, never to come out again. Honest to God, he was looking for a drink for about 15 minutes. It was so funny. So, Henry Rollins. So Henry, we invite Henry, I'm doing a record called Has Been. Thank you. 7 of you clapped there. That was an improvement on Raw Nerve. So I've got an idea for a song that I write called "I Can't Get Behind That" and all the stuff you can't get behind. And Henry comes in. We invite Henry, so he writes some of the lyrics, and we do it together as a spoken word thing. And then Ben Folds, this genius musician, more people for Ben Folds. How come the people who applauded for Ben Folds didn't buy Has Been? Because only 7 of you said applauded on the Has Been, but 25 of you applauded for Ben Folds. And I can't see why the Ben Folds people wouldn't buy Has Been, so there'd be 25 of you. So Ben puts behind us screaming at each other all kinds of syncopation. Drums and cowbells and tinkling. I mean, so the number becomes a whole, has elements, has a repertoire of beats, of syncopation and rhythms, and it's so complex and so interesting that you should hear it. And therefore, you'd understand what I'm talking about. Okay, you're pointing your finger at who? The guy with the camera. Why should I choose him? Because he loves me. Okay. What's that? What? Oh, that's me? I haven't got my glasses. You're a nice looking lady. Because you love me, you're going to ask a loving question, I know. It's not going to be an attack, I know that. How Star Trek against what? Star Wars against Star Trek. So I presume you know that on the YouTube. YouTube? Is it YouTube?
Yeah. Yes.
Internet. I never know the difference of it. On the YouTube, what's her name?
Carrie Fisher.
Fisher. What's her name?
Carrie.
Carrie.
Junkie Fisher.
Carrie.
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher and I, one of my dear friends. She was invited to go on the dais, but she never made it or whatever. Carrie Fisher and I have been debating the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek. And that I thought that her push-up bra was unfair to bring viewers into Star Wars. Whereas we had girls in green paint and bikinis. We thought that.
Short skirts.
And short skirts. So we've been having fun with that. And the result of which was, I said that Star Trek had the stories, the meaningful stories, and Star Wars was a ride. And that's basically how I feel anyway.
Yeah. Yes.
By the way, again in the one-man show, which opens on Broadway February 16th. see how long you guys can last.
All day?
Yeah.
All day.
All night.
Ooh, all day. Oh my God, that's talk about Xena convention having a patina of sex. Boy, that stuff is boiling here.
It's the oysters.
I almost went somewhere I wasn't going. Star Wars and Star Trek. So, I'm invited.
Yeah.
American Film Institute invites me to do the opening welcome to George Lucas's getting a prize of some kind from the American Film Institute. Lifetime something or other, right? So I said, well, what have you written? They said, well, you come on stage and you think it's a Star Trek convention. And then you realize it's Star Wars, and then I sing beautifully. Okay, so I go on stage and look around and look at a piece of paper and say, Star Wars convention? And look out, and the whole thing was, would George Lucas laugh? If George Lucas doesn't laugh,
We're in trouble.
we're in more trouble than trouble. The shine on my face right now is because it's warm here. But when it's cool and there's a shine on your face, that's called flop sweat. And if George Lucas doesn't laugh, the pores open up, you see, and out gushes a lot of perspiration, which dribbles down your nose, and you begin to go like this, because George Lucas isn't laughing. And he doesn't think it's funny that I'm up here peddling Star Trek while he and every known figure in Hollywood is up in front, because it's George Lucas and his friend...
Carrie Fisher.
Who?
Carrie Fisher?
Carrie Fisher. Oh, Spielberg.
Why did you say that first? I had to and Spielberg. What's his first
Your
name?
mind.
What?
Steven.
Steven.
Jaime.
Okay. I'm just pretending.
You knew that.
So Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and all their friends are up front, and I have to take my time about getting to Star Trek and Star Wars. I thought this was Star Trek, and I focus in on George Lucas, and George Lucas goes like this. And then I see. And then I see, and I know I'm in, and it worked.
It was
really
great.
fun.
It was great.
Okay, there is a hand, and that's green. It's a green thing. Yes, you and the green thing.
The green thing.
But you haven't got your hand up. You're in front of the green thing.
Can you explain the reasoning behind doing
The film.
All right. Have you finished asking the question? All right, pass the question down. What did he say?
Tell him to come up here.
How do you feel about Desperado?
How do I feel about
Desperado.
Esperanto?
Yeah.
How do I feel about Esperanto?
The movie you did in Esperanto.
Yes, no, I know what you mean. What the hell else would I know? So Leslie Stevens, who wrote all kinds of interesting things, what did Leslie Stevens write? What did Leslie Stevens write? Come on, this is a science fiction thing. What? Outer Limits. Okay? Leslie Stevens wrote Outer Limits. And he writes a script and he asks me to be in it. And it's a basic script. Script. Life and death, good and evil. I'm playing good, and some guy out of the devil comes out of the ground, and the good man and bad man. Pretty good. Conrad Hall, who was a young cinematographer at that time, was going to be the cinematographer. He was already making his reputation. What did Conrad Hall film? Conrad Hall. Connie Hall. Who knows? I've got Connie Hall. Connie Hall, Connie Hall, no Connie Hall. All right, you filmed a lot of big stuff that I can't remember. So he's the cinematographer. That alone would have been made it good. So I start learning the script. One day, Leslie Stevens says, wait a minute, don't learn any more English words. We're going to do it in Esperanto. Esperanto, what the, what? He says Esperanto is a language that is made up of German, Greek, and Latin words. And it is the international language, since everybody can't communicate. Japanese can't communicate with the English people, English-speaking people. We're going to have an international language, says George Bernard Shaw, one of them. George Bernard Shaw. Who knows George Bernard Shaw? Okay, okay, good. English majors are here. So George Bernard Shaw was one of the people in the turn of the 20th century, I think, invented Esperanto. What a noble cause. Everybody learns Esperanto, and instead of speaking English and Japanese and having an interpreter, you all speak Esperanto. We're going to make it in Esperanto, says Leslie, because there are 17 million people who speak Esperanto, and they'll all come to the movie, and it'll be a knockout success. Okay. So we filmed. I learned it phonetically. I see the English here, Esperanto there, and I'm saying these words as best I know how. And we make the movie. And there is indeed 17 million people who speak. There's 3 in New Orleans, and all 3 came to see it. And there was 2 in Los Angeles. So it failed. But it went to the Cannes Film Festival because it was in Esperanto. So I went to see it months later. Now, as you can tell, even then, my short-term memory was somewhat limited. I got a lot of things to think about. I can't remember these things. So I didn't know what the movie was about. And because it was going to Cannes, it was in Italian. I don't remember why, because Cannes is in French, but it was Italian. I read French, but I didn't read Italian. So I'm speaking Esperanto, the subtitles are in Italian, and I have no freaking idea what the movie's about. And that's what I think about Esperanto. I'm going to take one more question. You have a question? Gary has a question.
Yes, Bill, I just got the,
Oh, fuck that.
I got the hook.
I get the hook. You sent for the hook. Were you going to say something to me? 35th wedding anniversary of the 2 of you. And did you meet as a result of Star Trek? Please say yes. Yes, you met as a result of Star Trek. And that's a very romantic thing. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. What a pleasure to see you.